you know, we're wrong so much. It's kind of fun to be right once in a while. And we've been saying, and we've been waiting, and we've been watching it go tick-tock, tick-tock. We've been saying for weeks that the corporation commissioner races, which nobody usually cares about, right, we're going to blow up this week, and they did blow up this week.
It's because all the other races are boring.
That's right. Now, let's take just a second before we want to look at some action from yesterday. But before we do that, what is the Corporation Commission, and let's explain to the viewers, what does it do? Why is it important? Let's start with you, Richard.
Well, the Corporation Commission basically hears testimony to set rates on public utilities, because utilities are monopolies, so they have to have the right to get a fair return on their investment, and also what's fair to the consumer. So they're supposed to be like a judge weighing, rates and they also control the oil and gas industry and all that. So it's very, very powerful people, and there are only 3 of them.
Right. And by the way, to that, I would add, not only do they regulate public utilities, they also regulate common carriers. Right. So there's some involvement in the transportation industry. We're talking about trucking. We're also talking about railroads and railroad crossings. And in addition to that, there are other types of utilities that they regulate other than just oil and gas. We're talking about telecommunication utilities. So if you talk on a phone,
powerful people.
Yeah. All right. And so in Oklahoma, we elect everything but the dog catcher. Right. And there's probably somebody. And now, when you elect somebody, if you're regulating an industry, where do you raise the money from?
Well, I think, this is one subject I think Representative Terrell and I definitely agree on, is that you raise the money from the people you're regulating. Why? Because they have all the money.
And that ain't good.
That is not good. That is
not good.
In fact, we have repeatedly pointed out on this program that in the secondary statewide offices, most people don't have a clue who it is that's running for these offices, or even who the incumbents are, much less have a clue about what it is that they even do. Most people don't know what the Corporation Commission does, or Insurance Commissioner, or Labor Commissioner even does, and that they do raise most of the money from the people that they regulate. That is an inherent built-in conflict of interest that exists in those offices. Scott, I'm not saying that we shouldn't elect those people, but there is a huge potential for corruption, and all you have to do is look at Oklahoma history to prove that.
Okay, so if you raise money, I'm sorry, but if you raise money for people you regulate, can you say,
sure? We have an ethics commission. Why isn't the ethics commission talking about this stuff? All they think they want to talk about is whether Randy and I go and have a cup of coffee with somebody. and here's the Corporation Commission races, unscathed here. We need to look at this entire issue of funding for public office, and maybe talk about public funding. I don't know if that's a viable answer or not, but if we're going to talk about ethics, we should talk about it across the board, not with just of those of us in the legislature.
Okay.
Right. And by the way, I do want to point out too that although I think it's problematic that people are taking money from the people they regulate, that doesn't always necessarily imply that these people are corrupt. I think it's possible that you can get money from people you regulate without being corrupt. I am suggesting it's problematic.
Okay. Now, so let's set the stage. So here's the important part to set. We have, which doesn't happen often, we have 2 Corporation Commission races going on right now. They are the following. For a 2-year seat, which is the balance of Denise Bodie, former Commissioner Denise Bodie.
By the way, do you think she's regretting the fact that she actually went to work with Chesapeake and the Clean Skies Foundation now in the wake of the economic collapse?
Well, as long as checks are cashed, I doubt it. All right, now, you've got the balance of Denise Bodie's term. Governor Henry appointed Jim Roth, who's Oklahoma County Commissioner, to serve that out. He's got to face the voters for a 2-year seat. He's being challenged by former Judge Dana Murphy. Okay? Then there's the 6-year seat. That's held right now by Republican Jeff Cloud, who was appointed before this term by a governor because Cody Graves left the commission. He was appointed by Frank Keating, I believe. Yeah. So now he's up for his full 6-year term. He's being challenged by former state representative Charles Gray, a Democrat. The interesting aspect of it is both Roth and Cloud have similar records on the Corporation Commission. Now, and they're from different parties. So, yesterday, in the real contentious one where there's a lot of money, it was, and there went a media critic right there. Okay. There was some ads this week brought by Jim Roth against Dana Murphy. Yesterday, she has a press conference. Let's start with the ad. Let's start with Dana Murphy's soundbite and then take a look at what Jim Roth had to say. Here we go.
The bottom line is, I have not been charged with nor convicted of forgery or any other crime.
I think forging an oil and gas lease is pretty relevant to whether or not you're qualified to have the ethics to be a corporation commissioner.
Okay, now I probably didn't set that up just right. It was a Roth ad saying that she was unqualified because she forged her signature. That was 16 years ago in a divorce proceeding. The question is this relevant to the Corporation Commission race? What happened yesterday?
Well, apparently the Roth campaign thinks it's relevant, and they think that maybe, signing an oil and gas lease that's got your name and you sign somebody else's name to it might be relevant to your ability to be on the Corporation Commission. The reason all this is coming out as so hot is because the races are real tight. Nobody is being desperate here, but folks, the reality is that, believe this or not, people will tell you they hate negative advertising. They'll tell you that to your face, but in reality, they like it. The reason we know it works, it works all the time. The Roth people are just using that. If I was the Dana Murphy people, though, I don't know if I would have had a press conference to re-emphasize the point that Jim Roth was making in his campaign ad. She should have just blown right through it, ignored it, and go on with her campaign.
And by the way, I do absolutely agree with that observation. Obviously, this is not something that you want to be talking about in the 10 days immediately before the general election. Is it relevant? I don't know. I suspect that if she'd really done something wrong, that they would have charged her. Obviously, since the time that they did not, and since that time, she obviously worked as an ALJ at the Corporation Commission. She is an attorney. The Bar Association didn't take any action against her, so I suspect that there's not a lot of merit there. Going one step further, guys, I would tell you this. It shows desperation on the part of Jim Roth. He is the incumbent. The incumbents always have the advantages. He certainly has the money advantage in this race. The fact that he is having to go negative this close to the general election date indicates to me, guys, that he is running behind and he is now desperate.
It's an interesting strategy because it does open up a whole character issue for 10 or 11 days. Let's not forget the other race.
Right.
Okay, the other race with Jeff Cloud, who's an incumbent, that thing has started to heat up.
Well, it has, but listen, as I said, these races always favor the incumbent. Jeff Cloud is a great guy. He's somebody who I know personally. He has got a lot of character. He has a very young family. He's somebody who's done a great job in the Corporation Commission seat for the last 6 years or so since he was appointed, and he should be reelected to a full term. He's done nothing to justify his removal from that seat, and he's actually earned his retention as a Corporation Commissioner. This latest stuff that Charlie Gray's dredging up, I mean, he's pulled this out of the sewer 10 days before an election. He ought to be ashamed of himself.
Is what Charles Gray, with the video about Jeff Cloud having a fundraiser in Dallas, is it relevant?
Well, I don't know if it's relevant or not. He's trying to point out that Jeff Cloud apparently was in Dallas somewhere meeting with some people, and I saw the film. I don't know if there's anything wrong going on there, but the people in the film sure were scurrying around. I know Charlie Gray. You claim that you know Cloud. I know Charlie Gray. We know that Charlie Gray will represent the consumer, the people of Oklahoma, that needs to have a watchdog out at the Corporation Commission. I don't know Jeff Cloud, but I know that he's kind of tight with those people he's regulated, and Randy, those are the same type of issues that you were talking about that looks kind of funny.
Real quick. Charles Gray says, I won't take money from people I regulate. Good or bad strategy?
I think it's a bad strategy because you need money. I mean, if the other guy's doing it, he's raising a bunch of money, getting on TV. But Charlie Gray is his own man, and he's going to make up his own mind. That's what he's decided.
Yes, but pulling this sort of trash.
These guys are going to have to make sure that they get the law changed so we don't elect everybody in the whole world next year. With some closing thoughts right after this. I've been saying it for some time now. The most interesting races this go-round will be the 2 Corporation Commission races. Why? Well, it all goes back to energy issues such as natural gas versus coal, wind power, and other energy matters in light of perceived climate change, as well as our dependence on foreign oil. Incumbents Jeff Cloud and Jim Roth are touting their efforts to wean America off of our dependence on foreign oil. It's a very popular stance. It's also important because of money. Incumbents take campaign donations from those they regulate. Cloud's challenger, Charles Gray, says he won't take money from individuals and PACs of those he regulates. And that's a popular stance. Roth's challenger, Dana Murphy, advances she's much more qualified than Roth and that he's in the pockets of those he's supposed to be watching and that change is needed. Change. That's a popular stance. So 4 people are running for 2 seats and partisan issues basically don't matter in this race, which can be boiled down to so-called green power versus the influence of mean green money. That's why these races will be so contentious for the next few days. We'll keep you advised. I'm Scott Mitchell. See you next time on News 9's Your Vote Counts.